Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Peace Talks. This is a series where we catch up with the artists and bands that are coming to play for us at the Mars Bar in Worcester. And today I'm joined by Liam Brennan. Hi, Liam.
Hey,
Currently in Oslo, Norway, right?
almost. Yeah, I have been. I've just moved to Gothenburg
Right.
to do
Okay,
my
cool.
final stage of my studies. But you are totally right. You're totally on the money. I was in Oslo. Yeah.
Traveling around. There we go. So
Yeah.
Gothenburg. I think I've been to Gothenburg once in my life. Yeah, so thanks for joining us today.
Of
And
course.
Liam will be bringing up his band Abacus on the 26th of February. There we go. So over to the Mars Bar. So yeah, thanks for joining us. And yeah, in this series we sort of just dig into a little bit of your background. So I think actually I first bumped into you and Kai when you were running the Jazz at the Spotted Dog.
Yes. Yeah, I
Um,
think.
so
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that would
when
have been as part of the Midlands network thing.
yeah. So when did you start on that?
I think I started doing that. Kai started a little bit earlier than me. I think maybe 6 months or something, maybe before. I think, or he was covering for people when they couldn't make it. But I think that was in September 2021 or something like that. Yeah.
Right, okay. Because that had been going some time before, wasn't it?
They'd been going for ages. Yeah, I think maybe 2012 or something, 2011. Like it was, yeah, and it kept going strength to strength, obviously, and it's doing great now, and it's in
Yeah,
such a
as
really
Dig
good
Biff
direction.
Jazz rebranded and over
Yes.
in the Night Owl won the Parliamentary Jazz Award for Venue of
Yeah.
the Year last year as well. So that's
Yeah, for
fantastic.
sure. It's great. It's really great.
Yeah, cool. So were you originally from Birmingham or did you move up there just for because you're
No,
all?
yeah, I'm originally from Hertfordshire,
Hmm.
originally,
Oh right,
and
I was there as well. Whereabouts? I was Watford.
oh really? I was Hitchin.
Oh right,
Hitchin,
there you
yeah. Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. Oh, mad. Yeah, so yes, well, I moved up to Birmingham when I was for my undergrad
Yeah,
when I was 18, and then I stayed there. So when I met you, I would have been there for 6 years then, by then or
right.
something. I think a couple of years, obviously the COVID thing, and it was like moving back and forth a little bit, but um, yeah. So yeah, when I started running the dog was a couple of years after I graduated, basically. So which was great fun, for sure. So.
Cool. So where did it start musically for you then?
Um, well, because I think I originally when I was like four, no, that's ridiculous. Like six or something, 6 or 7. I started on violin,
Okay. Yeah.
and my mum is still a singing teacher and was a professional singer for a long time, and so I got into music very early on. But I didn't really connect with the. Well, I just couldn't really play the violin. Basically, from that was like kind of clear from fairly early on. I really
It's
struggled with it.
long-suffering parents that give the
Yeah.
violin to
So
learn.
so I went to clarinet but I think talking to my parents, I was always really into playing the saxophone. But when I was younger, it was sort of because it's quite a cumbersome instrument, like a heavy instrument or whatever. Like I didn't start doing that until a few years later, and then I joined these it's like jazz ensembles basically. Like I was kind of just quite enjoying it, like music as part of like a hobby. It's a thing of
Mhm.
when I was a teenager, but it was only when I started doing jazz stuff by my saxophone teacher, who's this great saxophone teacher and player, ensemble leader in Hitchin called Chris Pine
Mhm.
who was really like sorted loads of stuff out for me and showed me lots of different things and was really inspiring. So that was around like 15, 16. I started to really get into like I started listening to like Stan Getz and Miles and Cannonball and things, and then I started to be more interested in that. Whereas before, like the classical thing, I found very interesting, but I wasn't really listening to it. So the jazz thing, when I discovered that was like the first time it was really like oh, this is really interesting,
Hmm.
and I also can connect with it because I'm listening to it. So
Yeah.
there was a sort of I had more of a reference for it already because before I started playing it, I'd been listening to it for on and off for a year or so. So, um, yeah, so that's really when I first started getting interested. So it was kind of a bit later on, when I started taking it more seriously, like 16, 17, which I mean, obviously it's very subjective, but it felt like when I went to music college, it felt like I was a bit behind, really. I think
Right.
initially. Um, so yeah, so that was my way in. Um, yeah, and then just obviously ups and downs in music and stuff, and finding it difficult and things, and but um, but yeah, I've really felt like comfortable towards the end of my undergrad, and especially when I started doing a lot more writing and stuff. I had some great lessons from some of the teachers there, and yeah, and then this project, the Abacus project, was kind of a way of extending that compositional outlet outside of college once I'd graduated,
Right.
because I knew that I did quite a lot of big band, and I started writing quite a lot of big band compositions, but I sort of knew that practically and financially that was going to be a hard thing to be doing
Mm.
every few months. Like I mean, I was when I was in Birmingham able to do a couple of big band gigs a year and stuff. Um, but this was a nice like in between ground between the big band stuff and the small group things.
Right. Yeah.
So I could use the writing or the techniques that I'd learned in big band and apply it to small band things. Um, which was the main inspiration behind that project, really, and this album, this Oh My Avatar album, which is like this live album, um, which was called Asking No Permission, I think. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that had a similar front line of it was like this album recorded in Smalls Jazz Club, and like three tenors and an alto, so
Right.
really powerful front line. And I'm as a saxophone player, I have a lot of saxophonist friends, so
Yeah.
we were that always seemed like a nice camaraderie thing, and I still obviously enjoy writing specifically for those people, basically. So yeah.
Cool. And there was a project that you were working on. I guess that was at while you were at the conservatoire, which was a kaleidoscope project. It
Yes.
was.
Yes, yeah. So that project came out of while we were just came out of lockdown, and it was Tommy Fuller, James Baldwin, Kai Chunzi, who we didn't all live together at once, but like in different constellations, we'd
Yeah.
all lived together and started when we'd been playing a lot for many years for at least a couple of years at that point, on and off anyway. And then we started playing regularly when we were all in Birmingham during lockdown. And then I applied, and we started doing some gigs when Tommy went out to study in Basel. We did a couple of gigs out there, and then other things started coming along, and we started doing more gigs and things. And yeah, and then this opportunity came up to work with a mentor. So I applied through that with that band to work with Laura Jerd, which was really great. She
That's right.
was
Yeah, yeah.
really,
So,
really,
so
really
for the people watching, that was the Jazz Central mentoring scheme, and that ran in 2023. I think that was the first one that was done. I think
yeah.
Arnie Somergy, bass player, and he teaches at the conservatoire as well. So he was sort of coordinating that with Jazz Midlands and Phil Rose at Jazz Midlands. And so yeah, so I joined up with Jazz Midlands just the year before. So that was the first one we went through. Um, and yeah, so we had of so yeah, for the people watching, that was a series. I think there was about half a dozen of you, weren't there? We teamed
Yeah, I think
up
there
with
was six
different
of us, five or
mentors.
six of us. Yeah.
um, to put together a project throughout the year, and then there was like a festival, a weekend event at a Thousand Trades, I think, where you all performed
Yes.
your projects across the 2 days, and then some of the promoters in the West Midlands in Jazz West Midlands presented some of those projects. So yeah, we had Dan Lockhart in the set
Yeah.
of that, and that was actually with Josh Fadivallu, who's in Abacus, right?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I yeah, because we had who did we play with? We went to Coventry and
Right.
played with
Yeah,
Neil.
that's
Or played, yeah, Neil. Is it Neil McGowan?
okay, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, which was great. Was really, really nice with and it was quite an unusual, I suppose, unusual lineup again with two trumpets and an alto and bass and drums.
Mm,
And I'm quite into that thing actually. Of it makes you as a writer sort of means you have to write for the horns in a different way because they're all in the same, basically in a similar register. So it's quite hard to navigate that
right.
massive gap between the double bass and the rest of the instruments. So, um, but yeah, it was a really great scheme, and it was great to work with Laura. And then we did some other. I think we did maybe a couple of other gigs. I can't really remember, but it was great to just write for her, writing for her
Mm,
and with her in the ensemble. And then she also did a lot of mentoring in terms of like listening to the tunes and then hearing it back and saying, okay, maybe how can we think about developing this kind of music and things, and
mhm.
but being very encouraging. Like she was a great balance of like she wasn't giving us loads of stuff all the time,
Yeah,
but she was also able to give us enough for me to work on that. I wasn't like feeling like where's this going, or I didn't really have to lead anything in terms of she like basically did a great job of, and
yeah.
being very inspiring and yeah, very helpful basically. So yeah.
Cool. So yeah, and then that project, sorry, the scheme ran again the following year, and then we had James Romaine and James Borland come through on
Yes.
that one in 2024. So if
Yeah.
anyone's watching, there's videos. I was actually able to interview all of the candidates on that second round. So there's some interviews with James Romaine and James Borland kicking around on my YouTube channel somewhere if anyone wants to check those out. Um, so then you finished up at Birmingham, and so you're now in or studying
Yeah,
in
I'm just
Norway.
coming to the end of my masters, which is
Hmm.
this joint composition and improvisation degree,
Hmm.
master's degree that is based in Gothenburg. Um, but it's got sandwiched in the middle are these two Erasmus um, semesters. So I started in October, well, like September 2024 in Gothenburg, and then I moved to Copenhagen to this place called RMC. This like rhythmic, it's called like the Rhythmic Music Conservatory or something.
Hmm.
And um, and then once I finished there, then I moved to Oslo, where I've just been, and now I've moved back to Gothenburg to finish my thesis and finish the degree basically. So it's a bit of a it's a quite a unique thing, and it's quite intense, moving a lot actually. But it's been amazing, like having all these different groups of teachers and groups of
Mm.
musicians, and like couldn't really ask for a more like eclectic like mix of different genres and stuff, and really nice to be studying writing as well, because I've not really done any formalized like studying of writing in the same way in an institution, which is obviously you don't necessarily have to do that, but was always interested in it because um, just seeing how different classical and contemporary classical composers write and how they use structures in different ways was always very interesting to me. I was often used to writing tunes and things coming off of, from wherever, and improvise something on the piano or on the saxophone. Whereas now I've got some other skills of going, if that's not really working for me, or if that's yielding the same set of results, and I want something else, then I now have a lot more skills to go, okay, like how have I tried about this, or
Hmm.
and so it's been amazing. It's been a really really amazing thing to do, really. So I feel very
What's the scenes like out in Denmark and in Sweden and such compared to Birmingham and
yeah. I
maybe
mean, it's
London?
kind of different. I mean, I think like scene wise, Gothenburg is probably quite similar to Birmingham in terms of it has a pretty good straight ahead scene, and it has some contemporary jazz stuff, and there are free there's a free scene and improvising music scene here, but I think it's and then they also have like the Swedish folk thing going on, and then there's all of that sort of mixing around. But yeah, so in terms of the size of a scene, it's probably similar to Birmingham, and then Oslo is a bit bigger in terms of not in terms of the actual city, but in terms of like the scene of musicians,
Mm.
and there's a lot of different things going on there, and a lot of projects, and there's also a lot of funding. So there's a lot of really exciting ensembles happening, and they have, like I saw the Trondheim Jazz Orchestra coming over, and they have really great venues and stuff. But it's kind of a different. Not there's not as many like things that you feel like are really grassroots in the same way. There's a lot of like really
Right,
great
okay.
things like that happening in Birmingham. Um, and in Copenhagen, it had like two really strong scenes where it had this really strong straight ahead scene because they have a big history of like American
Mm.
musicians coming over for a long time,
Yeah, yeah,
and then also this completely other kind of separated scene of the free and improvised music, and both of them were really cool. But I didn't get to, even though I was living in these countries for 6 months or 4 to 6 months each time, I wasn't always able to um, get involved in the scenes as much as I would like because obviously I was studying, but
mm.
also it does take a while to sort of really get to know a
Yeah,
scene and get to know people in the same way. And I've not had that in the same way where I was in Birmingham. I obviously was wanted to be involved in it as much as I could. So yeah, so it's kind of different, but it doesn't have. I just don't know it to the same extent that I knew Birmingham in terms of, well, I do know Birmingham in terms of the camaraderie and the scenes and the things
yeah,
that I see happening now, which is really great. Of lots of new music happening and lots of people having projects, which is really important because it's a bit of a labor of love a lot of the time
yeah.
because it's hard to keep it going and financially hard to keep it rolling. So it's just great that I see a lot of people doing that stuff, and it's really exciting. So yeah.
Cool. So let's talk a bit about the band that you'll be bringing up and who's in it. I think we touched on a couple of names already, but
Hmm.
yeah, if you just sort of talk us through who will be playing and then kind of what sort of music is it all original or are you going to be mixing stuff up? So yeah, just
Yeah, yeah. It's uh, it's a case of so we have James Romain, who's another alto player that I was at college with. We have James Borland, trumpet player, who I was at college with as well. Josh Vadavelu and Kai Terenzi as well on bass and drums, and we were all in Birmingham together. And then my friend Simeon May, who we had the same saxophone teacher, and we grew up playing together and stuff. So that's
okay.
how that's how we sort of knew each other. And from when I was in my third or fourth year, so in like 2018 maybe or 2019, he'd started coming up to Birmingham every so often and started to get to know people when we started playing a bit more regularly then. So yeah, and then I sort of formed that band, like I said, like out of this sort of desire to continue learning in some way some big band things or trying out some things. So the first few tunes like were inspired a lot by in a sort of quite distant way, inspired by like Gil Evans and then more concretely by like Oliver Nelson and John Hollenbeck, and like
Hmm.
how they develop tunes and things. Um and I really liked, also really loved playing standards and having that as a repertoire in there because I also knew that everyone was coming from that kind of world. So we do play some standards, but they're also quite heavily arranged. Um, so that, I mean, they're not so heavily arranged to be unrecognizable, but they're yeah, I sort of play around with or experiment with the structures a little bit, and and it's initially it was quite a heavily structured band because I didn't really want to have many pieces of music where it was like head and then it's very tempting to just have like three or four like saxophone or trumpet solos back to back and then the head
Mhm.
because but I just felt like even for myself I have a shorter attention span than that and I need to mix it up a little bit and sometimes if things are sort of left up in the open a bit too much then things end up being looped and then you have more solos than you then really the music needs. So
Right.
initially it was very quite structured and a lot of everyone playing their bit with the rhythm section and then maybe a soli or something else happening and then the head. And now it's a bit more it's a bit freer now, like having written some music well I haven't written like music in the last couple of years here. And the band came to Oslo actually
Okay.
a few months ago, which was great. We did a couple gigs and played some and did a small recording session and things and that music is kind of similar in some ways. It's more it is more reminiscent of taking one idea and seeing how much I can manipulate it rather than necessarily tuned based music. Before
Right.
I
Okay.
was writing something going this melody. So because that's also what I've been studying is manipulating ideas and it's a bit more dynamically driven. So there's some like um duos and trios happening a bit more and I'm trying to think more of within a set like how to balance that thing because actually I'm more aware of like the audience like how they or I'm trying to be more aware of the audience and how they would actually take in the information and take in the music rather than like this is the music and this is they're going to listen to it and it's going to be
Mhm.
cool whatever. So that's been really nice and we have this album coming out which I wasn't sure whether we would be able to sell it at this gig because I wasn't sure the CDs are ready in time, but the CDs are ready, so we will be bringing some CDs. So it's sort of like we're going to obviously do the two sets, and then I'm going to interweave the album that we've recorded and we're releasing within the set because all of those tunes are also quite old now because
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
we've been playing on and
4
off.
years or so then.
Yeah. So some of those are really like I've had to now in the last couple of days go back and change them because there are things that I would never do now, which is funny because I go like that didn't work or like, but it was cool and so yeah we're releasing that album and that's a live album that we did recording in Birmingham like now like 3 years ago or something,
Right. Okay.
and I used that as my audition tape to come out here, so it's a nice full circle thing. Um, so it'll be really nice, I think, and yeah, and just trying to. We've been playing a long time, and it is quite sometimes complex music, and it can be quite challenging. But now we've played for such a long time, and they understand how I write. It's just a really nice, exciting. I think it's a exciting band. I think actually they bring a nice energy, and um, yeah, I think it'll be really fun.
Cool. Yeah. Well, we're really looking forward to it. And so the album will be out this. You expecting that out this year?
Yeah, I mean we're gonna. I mean it's kind of pretty haphazard from me and just um, to say that there's really some online campaign would be really a misselling it basically. I've just recorded, I've done the album, and now the albums are printed and stuff, and I will probably
Right.
release it. I'll probably release it next week. It will happen next week, I think. So
There you
like
go.
the most low key album launch, but it's more of like an album launch tour. So we have this
Yeah.
this gig in Birmingham the week after, and then a gig in London later in this month, in March, and then a couple in June. So um, yes, which is really nice, but it's sort of taken me by surprise a little bit. But yeah, but it'll be really nice, and I hope people will yeah, enjoy the music, and if people still buy CDs, then they can enjoy it. If not, then Bandcamp or something for sure. So
Cool, good stuff. So what plans have you got once you finish your masters there? Are you back to the UK? Are you back in
it's
Birmingham,
kind of
London?
it's kind of up in the air, really. I mean, I'm because because of the practicality of moving all the time. It's quite tiring, and I've now also recently got my citizenship, my EU citizenship, because I'm half Irish.
Okay,
So that means that I'm able to stay
right.
um, in Sweden at least. A bit more. I think it might be a bit more difficult in Norway because they're not in the EU. But um, so my plan is work permitting, basically, to stay here for a year and try freelance out here, and just
Hmm.
because, like I said before, like I've not really had that much of a chance to delve into one scene particularly.
Right.
So it would be nice to actually feel like that's what I've missed from being in Birmingham. Like I was really felt part of a community there,
Hmm.
and just through the practicalities of moving around, and also my Swedish and Danish and Norwegian isn't very good. That like I'm not that involved, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't been that involved. So it would just be nice to see how that how it is, because I mean, Sweden's an amazing country, and I've had an amazing time here. So I hope to stay for a year and then see how that goes. But I'm still open to either moving back to the UK, or maybe staying in one of these countries or somewhere else. I'm thinking of maybe some further research study, like a PhD, maybe at some point in
yeah.
the semi-distant future, like not right now. But yeah, I mean, I have some groups here, like, but because I've been in those different cities, they've sort of changed each time. I've had one group for one place, and I sort of, and they've become a bit more experimental as I've gone on. So I started with this quite more like usual to what I was doing, which was like a contemporary jazz quintet when I was
Hmm.
first in Gothenburg. Then when I went to Copenhagen, I did this. We played in this old prison. I can't
All
remember
right.
what it's called, but it had this huge chamber that had like 10, 15 seconds of reverb, and I played with these other musicians in Copenhagen, and it was like two altos, a tenor, flute, and double bass, and we played some post-tonal music, but then also I wrote some kind of like really slow counterpoint, improvised counterpoint thing, and that was really fun. That was what I was studying then, and then in in Oslo I had a string quartet and a percussionist and a vocalist, and I was playing along with them, and I wrote some folk music and cellular bass music of one idea, and expanding it,
Hmm.
and that was probably that was my I'd been wanting to write for string quartet for a long time, because I was really into, like, there's this album with Miguel Zanon who plays with I think this called Prism Quartet, I think, or something. I can't really remember, but that has been a huge inspiration for a long time, and
Right.
playing. Obviously there's a big history of saxophone with strings and things, and that was a big draw. So, and for Gothenburg, I'm not for my time now. I'm not really sure. I think I want to do something with the strings again, but maybe something else. So it's kind of it's been a great thing of you arrive somewhere, you don't know people, and then you go, okay, this is what I want to do, and I need to find
Yeah.
people that are going to do that with me.
Yeah.
Rather then it's very easy to be if you're like I had that bit when I was first in Birmingham, but like, I'm not really sure, and maybe I'll just wait a little bit, and I'll just wait, and then before we realise, you've sort of talked about it more than you've actually done it, So
Right.
this sort of degree doesn't really allow for any of that. You just have to be like, yeah, okay, this is who I am, or musically, this is what I want to represent,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
so that's actually really nice, I think. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, glad that you are returning to the UK at least for next week. And you got a couple
Yes.
more lined up over the next few weeks, is it? Or-
Yes, we got one in Birmingham, Deep with Jazz in on the Tuesday after,
Okay, cool.
um, which is really nice for it to be lining up a little bit, which is cool. And then we have another one in London. So I'm coming back a month later, which will be great to play in London, but I haven't been able to get anything so far around then. So, but it's nice, obviously. I mean, it's nice to come back. So, and then we have a couple, 2 or 3 in June, I think. So,
Right.
so it's nice, slightly spread out, but the best. I'm really happy that we were able to get any, really. To be honest,
Cool.
it's a big band, and
Yeah.
I really appreciate you. You were sort of the one of the first promoters to like give me the thing of like, oh yeah, this is going to be. I mean, like it's still a bit practically difficult coming from Sweden or whatever, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was nice, and you do need these 1 or 2 dates to anchor other tour,
Yeah, yeah.
dates around, and I think promoters do appreciate that stuff because then it's also if they don't know you or whatever, or then they know that you're trying to sort out some other gigs and get things around, and it does make a big difference. So I really appreciate you having us up.
No problem. No, it's been in the making, I think, because obviously we've got there's a lot going on in Birmingham, and
Mm.
I because I've come from down south, sort of grew
Yeah,
up around London. I know a lot more people from down there than obviously now since I've been up here 6, 7 years now.
yeah,
So I know I'm getting to know the locals around, or more sort of the
yeah,
Birmingham and that. But yeah, we had Detroit Witch Funk Machine
yeah.
a few weeks ago that have got so they're all from it's Tom, Tom Clark Hill, the bassist
Yes.
from
Yeah.
Droit Witch. So
Great.
it's his band. And yeah, so Dave Sear is in that on
Yes.
trombone.
Yeah.
And who else? So Chris Bowden, obviously
Yeah.
from
Amazing.
around these parts. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're all Andy Shillingford and Aaron
Yeah. Yeah.
Shackhappy on keys. So yeah, it's good to sort of mix it up. But it's kind of fallen into the program quite accidentally that we've got. So we had Ancora last, which was an 8 piece from London, and then we've got you guys 6 piece from Birmingham, or
Yeah.
came together in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And then after that, we've got Sungrass, which is a band from Bristol, and there's
Okay.
sort of more sort of jazz rock fusion sort of stuff
Okay.
coming up after
Nice.
that. So we've sort of it's nice to be able to have 3 younger bands from different cities sort of
Yeah.
representing
Yeah.
different parts. So. Cool. So yeah, really excited to have you up on that's Thursday the 26th. That's next Thursday, depending on when people are watching this.
Yeah.
So yeah, safe trip over, and see you in Worcester.
Thanks very much. Look
Thanks for your
forward to
time
seeing
today,
you.
man.
Cheers.
Cheers. Stop.